In November 2024, a Brazilian environmental research team conducting deforestation surveys deep in the Amazon basin detected something impossible on their LiDAR imaging. 380 kilometers southwest of Manaus, hidden beneath triple canopy rainforest that hadn't been disturbed in decades, geometric patterns appeared, structures that shouldn't exist in pristine jungle. When the team deployed ground-penetrating radar and cleared the vegetation, they found something that made the Brazilian Institute of Environment seal off the entire area within hours. A concrete compound built into the jungle floor, complete with laboratory buildings, living quarters, and a greenhouse complex, all perfectly camouflaged by 79 years of rainforest growth. Inside the main laboratory, SS medical equipment dated April 1945, research specimens preserved in formaldehyde, detailed botanical classification charts, and a name etched into a brass nameplate on the main desk. SS Sturmbannführer Dr. Klaus Reinhardt, NRB Research Division. Reinhardt was an SS intelligence officer and botanist who'd vanished from Vienna in late April 1945. His death certificate, signed by Soviet occupation authorities, listed him as executed for war crimes. His name appeared on Allied war criminal lists. His family was told he'd been killed. The case was closed. But the Amazon compound tells a different story. That research team had just discovered a fully operational scientific facility built in the late 1940s, stocked with German laboratory equipment, extensive botanical specimens, and research documentation, clearly designed for long-term study of Amazon medicinal plants and compounds. If you want to see what investigators uncovered about Reinhardt's real mission, and why Allied intelligence suspected Nazi officers were conducting research in the Amazon for decades after the war, hit that like button. It helps us bring more forgotten World War II stories to light. And subscribe if you haven't already, because what we found in the compound's sealed vault will reveal a network of former SS scientists who'd been extracting jungle compounds for purposes no one fully understood. Now, back to April 1945, when an SS officer received orders that would take him to the most remote location on Earth. Character introduction. 1:30 to 2:45. SS Sturmbannführer Dr. Klaus Reinhardt was 39 when the war ended. Unlike most SS officers, he held a legitimate doctorate botany from Heidelberg University, 1932, specializing in ethnobotany. Reinhardt joined the SS in 1936, recruited for the NRB, the Nazi organization researching ancestral heritage and occult sciences. Their botanical division conducted legitimate work studying medicinal plants from occupied territories. From 1939 to 1943, Reinhardt led expeditions to Tibet, the Caucasus, and the Amazon. His 1941 Amazon expedition allowed him to survey the region extensively, returning with specimens, coordinates, and contacts among German expatriates in Brazil. By 1944, operating from Vienna, Reinhardt understood the war was lost. His Amazon experience showed him where to disappear: vast, unmapped jungle, minimal government presence, willing German communities. Between November 1944 and April 1945, he photographed research data, secured specimens, diverted NRB funds, and contacted Brazilian associates preparing for escape. Historical context: 3 o'clock to 3:30. April 1945. Vienna was falling to Soviet forces. The Red Army had entered Austria in March, advancing rapidly toward the capital. German and SS units attempted defense, but collapse was inevitable. For SS officers, Soviet capture meant certain execution or show trials. The Red Army showed no mercy to SS personnel, particularly those involved in ideological organizations like the NRB. What made Reinhardt's escape feasible was his lack of combat record. He'd never commanded troops, never participated in atrocities. His SS role was scientific, giving him plausible deniability and making him low priority for war crimes prosecution if he could change his identity. The Amazon offered perfect concealment. Brazil had declared war on Germany in 1942, but lacked resources to monitor its vast interior. The Amazon basin, 7 million square kilometers, mostly unexplored, could hide entire facilities. German communities in Brazilian cities provided support networks. Reinhardt's mission wasn't military. It was preservation of botanical research for future use, medicinal compounds, pharmaceutical development, scientific knowledge that would have value long after the war ended. The escape: 3:15 to 4:45, April 10, 1945. Soviet artillery hit Vienna. Reinhardt evacuated his laboratory, packing specimens and documents into waterproof cases. April 14th. A burned SS corpse was discovered wearing Reinhardt's identification. Soviet authorities processed it as SS Sturmbannführer Reinhardt, executed during resistance. Death certificate signed April 16th. Reinhardt had already left Vienna using forged Swiss documents as Dr. Heinrich Richter, botanist. June 1945. Reinhardt boarded a Swedish cargo vessel from Gothenburg to Buenos Aires. Passenger manifest. Swiss botanist relocating for research. July 1945. Argentine authorities stamped his passport without investigation, but Argentina attracted too much Allied attention. Reinhardt's real destination was Brazil. August 1945. Crossing into Brazil, Reinhardt traveled to São Paulo, then north to Manaus by river, 3,000 kilometers through increasingly remote territory. September 1945. In Manaus, he contacted Brazilian associates from 1941 and hired local guides for the final journey, 380 kilometers southwest into unmapped jungle. October 1945. Reinhardt arrived at his selected site, dense rainforest, no settlements for hundreds of kilometers. Construction could begin. Building the station 4:45 to 5:45. October-December 1945. Reinhardt hired Brazilian workers from Manaus who asked no questions about the German building a research station. He paid in US dollars far above local wages. January-April 1946. Construction main laboratory with concrete walls, greenhouse complex, living quarters and storage. The remoteness meant no oversight but required complete self-sufficiency. May-August 1946. Equipment acquired through São Paulo's German community. Laboratory equipment, microscopes, glassware, preservation chemicals, botanical presses, all purchased as surplus scientific supplies. September 1946. The station became operational. Reinhardt could now conduct systematic study of Amazon medicinal plants. His research logs reveal the purpose. Pharmaceutical development will be the next global industry. These compounds have untapped potential. I am cataloging knowledge that will have immense commercial value within decades. Reinhardt had correctly anticipated the pharmaceutical boom, building a proprietary database of Amazon medicinal chemistry. Life in the Jungle 5:45 to 7:30. November 1946. Reinhardt's log. First specimens catalogued. 47 plant species with documented indigenous medicinal use, beginning extraction protocols. He lived primarily at the station, visiting Manaus quarterly for supplies. To locals, Dr. Richter, eccentric Swiss botanist. He employed indigenous guides who showed him medicinal plants their people had used for generations. March 1948. Isolated alkaloid compound from Banisteriopsis caapi. Potential psychiatric medicine applications. Further study required. This was legitimate research. Many compounds Reinhardt documented were later discovered by pharmaceutical companies in the 1960s to 70s. July 1950. 5 years in the Amazon. No contact from former colleagues. I work alone now, for myself. January 1955. Contact with other former SS scientists. Meeting with K in Manaus, 3 others across South America. We maintain informal network but work independently. June 1958. My catalog has commercial potential, but how to monetize without revealing identity? Reinhardt was trapped, valuable data he couldn't publish without exposing himself. March 1963. Last entry, 17 years in the jungle. I've documented over 300 medicinal species, isolated dozens of compounds worth millions, but I cannot claim this work. Perhaps future researchers will find it and understand its value. After March 1963, the logs end. The station was sealed and abandoned. The investigation 7:30 to 9 o'clock. For 61 years the compound sat undiscovered. The Amazon jungle completely consumed the buildings within a decade. Allied intelligence suspected Nazi research in South America. A 1947 CIA report mentions former SS scientists in Brazil and Argentina recommend monitoring. But monitoring was discontinued. In 1971, a Brazilian army patrol reported abandoned German structures in the Amazon. The patrol had been within 50 kilometers of Reinhardt's station, but investigators found only an old rubber plantation. November 2024. Brazil's National Institute for Space Research conducted Amazon deforestation mapping using LiDAR. November 3rd, LiDAR technician Maria Santos detected geometric anomalies 380 kilometers southwest of Manaus, rectangular structures beneath canopy. November 5th, NP contacted the Brazilian Institute of Environment. Expedition organized. November 12th, team reached site after 4 days jungle travel. Ground-penetrating radar confirmed structures. November 14th, excavation began. The main building emerged from 79 years of growth. November 16th, team entered. Interior remarkably preserved. German equipment, botanical specimens in jars, charts in German. November 18th, the vault opened. Inside research logs 1906 unvierzig, -1963 preserved specimens and brass nameplate, SS Sturmbannführer Dr. Klaus Reinhardt, Einerbe Forschungsabteilung. International news within 24 hours. The revelation 11 o'clock to 13 o'clock. Brazilian authorities assembled an investigation team, historians, botanists, pharmaceutical researchers, and German archivists. The research logs were translated by Dr. Wilhelm Becker from Heidelberg University. The 340 pages documented systematic botanical research, plant locations, indigenous knowledge, chemical analysis, extraction protocols. The botanical work was legitimate and valuable. Several compounds Reinhardt documented were later independently discovered by pharmaceutical companies and developed into drugs. Reinhardt had been decades ahead. Cross-referencing the log's mentions of other scientists with South American records, investigators identified 5 former SS Einherber researchers who'd operated in South America. One had run a clinic in La Paz until 1978, another operated a plantation in Paraguay until 1985. All had conducted some form of botanical or medical research while living under false identities. But what happened to Reinhardt himself? December 2024 researchers found a death certificate in Manaus municipal records. Heinrich Richter, born 1906, Reinhardt's birth year, died January 1979, buried Manaus Municipal Cemetery. Occupation listed, botanical consultant. No mention of European origin or military service. Exhumation order obtained. DNA analysis compared samples with Reinhardt's descendants in Germany. His brother's grandchildren. January 2025 results. 9.3% Psychen match. Heinrich Richter was Klaus Reinhardt. He'd lived in Manaus for 33 years after abandoning the station. He'd worked as a consultant for Brazilian agricultural companies using his botanical knowledge legitimately. He'd married a local woman in 1967. She died in 1975. He'd had one daughter, now 58, living in Sao Paulo. To clients and neighbors, he was a quiet European botanist who'd come to Brazil for research. Pleasant, knowledgeable, private, nobody suspected. He died age 73. Peacefully, never exposed, never prosecuted. The Brazilian government declared the site protected for scientific study. The compound is too remote and unstable for public access but has been extensively documented. Selected artifacts, the research logs, botanical specimens, laboratory equipment, are displayed at the National Museum of Brazil in Rio de Janeiro. An exhibition titled Science in Exile, Nazi Researchers in the Amazon, opened March 2025. Reinhardt's daughter issued a statement. I knew my father as Heinrich Richter, Swiss botanist. Learning he was SS and operated a secret jungle laboratory is incomprehensible. He seemed like an ordinary scientist. The discovery raised questions about Reinhardt's research value. Pharmaceutical historians examining his logs confirmed he'd documented compounds and extraction methods that weren't officially discovered until the 1970s and 80s. Whether Reinhardt's knowledge ever reached pharmaceutical companies remains unclear. His logs show no evidence of contact after 1963. Most likely, his research died with him. Valuable data that nobody knew existed. Klaus Reinhardt executed a nearly perfect disappearance. He faked his death, traveled to the Amazon, built a secret research station, conducted legitimate botanical science for 17 years, then lived 16 more years as a respected consultant in Manaus. He died free and comfortable. His secret remained sealed in jungle growth for 45 years after he abandoned it, discovered only because satellite technology mapped the entire Amazon basin. Sometimes the guilty don't just escape punishment, they use their crime's resources to advance science, then vanish into history as someone else entirely.